want to ask you about this new book that you've got out. It's got some explosive claims in it. I want to start with the New York Post. This is how they assess or sum up the core claims of the book. They say Lee Harvey Oswald was a KGB associate who was personally instructed by Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev to assassinate President Kennedy. Sometime shortly thereafter, the Soviets changed their minds and Oswald was told to drop the plan. But Oswald, harboring a blinding love for all things USSR, refused. Tell me how you came to that conclusion, because everybody has their theory on what actually happened with the assassination of President Kennedy. But this is the conclusion that you and your co-author have come to.
Oswald was a fanatic, and he was able to essentially persuade the system to let him try in the summer, preceding summer, to shoot down, to essentially knock out the American president. And he tried it. And his round came very close. One came very close to him. But he pressed on and very sadly was able to keep the Soviet system going and to let the system work, and it kept doing that for everybody except Oswald, because finally everyone else stood down, but Oswald was operating essentially under his own steam, and did create a situation whereby the operational side of the killing proceeded. I'm not a moderate on this one. I think the administration was dead wrong to negotiate this deal. I think this is the worst deal I know of in foreign affairs that the United States has ever signed. I think the Iranians have cheated 6 ways from Sunday on it and will continue to. And basically, I could go on, but I think I probably communicated my main thinking.
And what happened really was that Khrushchev finally got a little bit of balance and sense into his thick skull. He was essentially ready, by the 60s, early 60s, to move against Oswald, whom he knew about and so forth, to do something to create a situation where the Kennedy would be killed, and it was only really because of his hatred of Kennedy that he was willing to take that step. And then when he did take that step and ordered it happen, it was not necessarily face-to-face with Oswald, but it was substantively easily known by the bureaucracy, the party bureaucracy, that he had given the order. He had so given the order and with such clarity that Oswald learned that he was being tasked with this great, marvelous, wonderful job that he so wanted more than anything in the world. And he essentially gets approval to move against Kennedy. And the thing, and what really happened was that Oswald was picked and moved against Kennedy, and then Khrushchev got a little bit of sense into his thick skull. And he wanted very much, more than anybody ever has wanted a president dead, he wanted Kennedy dead. But he realized that he might get caught and labeled as the assassin of the American president, and that could mean war between the US and the Soviet Union, nuclear war. He decided he didn't want nuclear war, so with a real sense of unhappiness, he changed and pulled in and pulled back And Khrushchev basically dictated that. And that was where things were heading when the decision was made by Oswald not to listen and not to obey anybody. Oswald turned around essentially after having been part of the group that was ordered to kill Kennedy. Mike believes, and I believe that was clearly a decision by Oswald to continue on and kill Kennedy under a vague overall charge from Khrushchev. They wanted to have probably all parts of the system, of the political system, represented. And they didn't have any conservative Democrats. And so they named me, but they hadn't done their research all that thoroughly. And they announced me as Admiral Woolsey. And I said, I never was an admiral, never got above captain in the Army. And they had a crowd gathered by that point to hear the announcement. And one of the staffers said, "Whoops, we better change the press release." So I was a last-minute conservative Democrat, and that's why I think they searched for me and found me. And it was not a real polished operation.
Does the NSA collect any type of data at all on millions or hundreds of millions of Americans?
No, sir.
It does not.
Not wittingly. There are cases where they could inadvertently, perhaps, collect, but not wittingly.
All right.